Ladies and gentlemen, here's a brutal truth. Your brain is actively working against your peace of mind right now. That racing heart before a big meeting, the way you snap at loved ones when stressed, that's not you failing at life. That's 50,000-year-old survival wiring hijacking your modern world. But today, you'll discover the neuroscience-backed secret to overriding this ancient panic button and unlocking what psychologists call the superpower of our era. Unshakable calm on demand. Your brain wasn't designed to keep you calm. It was designed to keep you alive. That's the critical distinction most people never grasp. Your mind, especially ancient survival structures like the amygdala, operates on one primal directive: threat detection. It's constantly scanning your environment, both physical and emotional, for danger. It's not looking for serenity, it's hunting for problems. And when it thinks it's found one, boom, your nervous system lights up like a wildfire, heart pounding, palms slick, thoughts scattering like leaves in a storm. Suddenly, you're spiraling, snapping, shutting down, or drowning in overanalysis. Sound familiar? This isn't happening because you're weak. It's not happening because you lack discipline. It's happening because that's precisely how the human brain evolved to function. So stop berating yourself every time you lose your cool. You're not broken. You're operating on outdated software. The revolutionary insight? Once you understand this biological wiring, you can reprogram it. But you can't change what you refuse to see. This is where most people remain stuck, unaware that their panic, anger, or overwhelm is just their brain's overzealous attempt to protect them. The moment this truth clicks, everything changes. You begin creating space between stimulus and reaction. And that space, that's where your true power resides. That's the golden interval where you can choose how to respond instead of mindlessly reacting like you've done 1,000 times before. But here's the brutal reality no one tells you. You don't get access to that transformative pause without deliberate training. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How often do you practice staying calm when nothing's wrong? Most people wait until their life resembles a dumpster fire to attempt composure, like stepping into the boxing ring without ever having thrown a punch. You can't expect to remain steady in chaos if you haven't built the neural infrastructure for calm during peace. Your brain requires repetition. It craves habits. It needs proof that you're safe, even when circumstances feel uncertain. This is where the majority surrender. They assume calmness is a genetic lottery, that some people are just naturally chill. Nonsense. Calm isn't inherited. It's constructed. It's forged through relentless, intentional effort. It's built through awareness, through daily practices like mindfulness, diaphragmatic breathing, journaling, and radical self-honesty. Every time you inhale instead of interrupt, every time you walk away instead of escalate, every time you question your emotional narrative instead of believing it blindly, you're laying another brick in your mental fortress. These moments seem insignificant, but they're seismic. Why? Because they're physically rewiring your neural pathways. Your amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates in 1/5 of a second. It's blisteringly fast by design. But your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of rational thought, problem solving, and emotional regulation, it's sluggish in comparison. It only comes online when you deliberately pause. That's the entire game, training your mind to intercept the amygdala's knee-jerk reactions before they hijack your behavior. This isn't theoretical, it's neuroscience. When triggered, your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, evolution's ancient cocktail for survival. Your vision tunnels, your muscles tense, your higher cognition shuts down. This was brilliant when facing saber-toothed tigers. It's catastrophic when facing a traffic jam or a snippy email. But here's the miracle. A single intentional breath can short-circuit this cascade. By exhaling slowly, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's brake pedal. You're not just calming down, you're chemically switching from reactive to responsive mode. Let's shatter another myth. Emotional control isn't about suppression, it's about discernment. Your feelings are data, not dictators. Just because you feel enraged doesn't mean you must scream. Just because anxiety whispers, "You'll fail," doesn't make it prophecy. Your brain generates emotions based on imperfect algorithms, colored by past trauma, cultural conditioning, and even how much sleep you got last night. That frustration with your partner today, it might actually be unresolved hurt from a decade ago. That dread about your presentation, probably your mind replaying third-grade humiliation. When you learn to observe emotions without obeying them, you gain something priceless: choice. This is where 90% of emotional training fails. People either numb their feelings with distractions or let them run rampant. Both are dead ends. The breakthrough comes when you start treating emotions like weather patterns, noticeable, ever-changing, but not defining. You wouldn't cancel your life because of rain. Why would you? Because of temporary anger. The master skill is developing what psychologists call meta-awareness, the ability to watch your own mind like a detached scientist. Interesting, I'm feeling defensive right now. What's that about? That tiny moment of curiosity creates just enough separation to prevent emotional fusion. Now let's talk about your most underrated superpower: breath control. Your respiration rate is a direct dial to your nervous system. Rapid, shallow breathing, that's your body's panic button. Deep, rhythmic breathing, that's the off switch for stress. Navy SEALs, elite athletes, and trauma surgeons all train this for a reason. It works. Try this now. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, hold empty for 4, repeat 3 times. Feel that? Your heart rate slowed, your muscles relaxed, your thoughts clarified. That's not placebo, that's physiology. You just manually overrode your stress response. But here's the critical insight everyone misses. You must practice these techniques when you're already calm. It's like fire drills. You don't wait for the blaze to read the evacuation plan. Build the neural highways now so they're available during crises. Start small. When your coffee spills, pause before cursing. When someone cuts you off, exhale before honking. These micro moments of intentionality compound into unshakable resilience. Your self-talk is another invisible architect of your reality. Most people's inner monologue is a relentless critic. You're not ready. They'll laugh at you. Why even try? This isn't harmless, it's self-hypnosis. Your brain believes what you repeatedly tell it. The fix? Become the narrator you need. Not empty affirmations, but grounded mantras. I handle challenges with calm. This feeling will pass. I choose my response. Language shapes neurobiology. Every time you replace "I can't" with "I'll navigate," you're strengthening prefrontal dominance over amygdala hijacks. Environment matters more than you think. Chronic stress isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Noise pollution, toxic relationships, and digital overload keep your nervous system in perpetual fight or flight. Audit your inputs. Protect your attention like the sacred resource it is. The most calming skill of all, the ability to disconnect from devices, from drama, from the addiction to urgency. Stillness isn't lazy, it's strategic. Finally, embrace imperfection. You'll still lose your temper, you'll still freeze with fear. Progress isn't linear. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions, it's to navigate them with wisdom. Every time you recover faster, every time you pause before reacting, you're winning. Remember, trees grow strongest facing winds. Muscles strengthen under resistance. Your calm isn't the absence of storms, it's the ability to stand steady within them. The world won't get less chaotic, but you can get less reactive. Start today. Breathe. Pause. Choose. That's how ordinary people build extraordinary resilience. That's how you become the calm in the chaos. Not by changing the world, but by mastering your mind. Let me tell you something that will change everything you think about stress, fear, and emotional control. Your brain isn't broken. It's just operating exactly as evolution designed it to. That pounding heart before a big presentation, the way your mind goes blank during confrontation, the sleepless nights worrying about problems that never happen, these aren't signs of weakness. They're proof your most ancient survival mechanisms are working overtime in a world they were never designed for. Imagine for a moment you're one of our ancestors 50,000 years ago. The rustle in the bushes could mean dinner or death. The stranger approaching your tribe could be friend or foe. In that world, the humans who survived were the ones whose brains reacted fastest to potential threats. Your amygdala, that almond-shaped alarm system deep in your brain, evolved to make split-second decisions: fight, flee, or freeze. It valued speed over accuracy because in the wilderness, a false alarm was better than a fatal hesitation. Here's the revolutionary insight. That same life-saving machinery is now misfiring in boardrooms, traffic jams, and social media feeds. When your boss's email triggers that sinking feeling, when a critical comment makes your face flush with anger, when financial worries keep you awake at 3 a.m., that's not your rational mind failing you. That's a 50,000-year-old survival program detecting threats where none exist. The same system that once saved us from predators now interprets public speaking as mortal danger, social rejection as tribal exile, and career setbacks as starvation threats. But here's what nobody tells you. This wiring isn't your enemy, it's your untapped superpower. The very sensitivity that makes you vulnerable to stress is also what makes you capable of extraordinary awareness, creativity, and emotional depth. The key isn't to numb this system, but to master it. Think of your amygdala like the security system in a high-tech building. You wouldn't disable the alarms entirely, you just recalibrate them to stop going off every time someone walks by the window. The breakthrough moment comes when you realize every emotional reaction is just your brain's attempt to protect you. That anxiety before a big meeting, your brain trying to prevent social exclusion. The rage when someone cuts you off in traffic, your territorial defense kicking in. The paralyzing fear of failure, your risk avoidance system working too well. When you start seeing your emotions as misguided protection rather than personal flaws, everything changes. Now let's talk about the pause, that sacred space between trigger and reaction. Neuroscience shows it takes the amygdala about 0.2 seconds to activate, but 6-10 seconds for the prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, to come online. That gap is where the magic happens. Most people spend their lives reacting in those first 0.2 seconds, lashing out, shutting down, or panicking before reason can intervene. But when you learn to stretch that pause, even by a few seconds, you gain access to choices you never knew you had. Here's how this works in practice. Next time you feel that familiar surge of anger or anxiety, try this. Literally count to 6. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. By the time you reach 6, your rational brain has booted up enough to ask game-changing questions. Is this threat real or imagined? What's the most strategic response? How will I feel about this reaction tomorrow? This simple pause is the difference between being controlled by your emotions and being in control of them. But here's the critical truth most miss. You can't create this pause in the heat of the moment unless you've trained it in calm moments first. Just as firefighters drill when there's no fire, you need to practice emotional regulation when you're not emotionally flooded. Daily mindfulness, even for 5 minutes, builds the neural pathways that make the pause automatic. Breathing exercises aren't just relaxation techniques, they're literally strength training for your prefrontal cortex. The most powerful realization? You're not trying to eliminate emotions, you're learning to navigate them. Think of your emotions like weather patterns. You wouldn't try to stop the rain or command the clouds to part. You'd check the forecast, carry an umbrella when needed, and know storms always pass. Emotional mastery works the same way. The goal isn't to never feel anger or anxiety, it's to stop being at their mercy when they arrive. This understanding changes everything. That colleague who triggers you, they're just accidentally pressing your survival buttons. That procrastination you beat yourself up over, your brain trying to avoid the perceived threat of failure. The overwhelm you feel juggling responsibilities, your ancient wiring interpreting modern complexity as mortal danger. When you decode your reactions this way, self-criticism transforms into strategic retraining. The implications are profound. Every emotional challenge becomes an opportunity to upgrade your internal operating system. A difficult conversation becomes amygdala retraining. A stressful commute becomes focus practice. Social anxiety becomes a chance to prove to your nervous system that visibility isn't dangerous. This isn't positive thinking, it's neurological reprogramming through lived experience. Here's what this looks like in daily life. When you feel stress building, instead of thinking, I need to calm down, which often creates more stress, try, my brain is trying to protect me. This simple reframe activates curiosity instead of frustration. Then engage your rational brain with specific questions. What exactly am I reacting to? Is this truly dangerous or just uncomfortable? What's one small step I can take right now? This shifts you from emotional victim to strategic observer. The science behind this is clear. Neuroplasticity proves our brains reshape based on experience. Every time you pause instead of react, breathe instead of panic, question instead of assume, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways. Studies show consistent mindfulness practice can physically shrink the amygdala's threat reactivity while strengthening prefrontal connectivity. In other words, you're not just managing stress, you're evolving your brain's very structure. This brings us to the ultimate insight. Your emotions are data, not directives. They're signals about your internal state, not commands you must obey. Anxiety might mean prepare more thoroughly rather than abandon this endeavor. Anger could signal a boundary was crossed rather than lash out immediately. When you learn to decode rather than blindly follow emotions, you gain the superpower of responding rather than reacting. The journey to emotional mastery begins with this radical acceptance. Your brain will always generate survival reactions. Your job isn't to stop them, but to develop the wisdom to know when they're serving you and when they're misleading you. The more you practice this discernment, the more your emotions become powerful allies rather than unpredictable enemies. This isn't about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming emotionally intelligent in the deepest sense. Remember, that rush of adrenaline before a big moment, that's your ancestors' gift of heightened focus. The gut feeling something's wrong, a survival mechanism that saved countless lives. The ability to feel deeply, what makes connection and creativity possible. Your task isn't to defeat these systems, but to direct them wisely. When you do, you'll discover something extraordinary. That what you once saw as emotional weaknesses were actually untapped strengths waiting for the right guidance. This is the true path to unshakable calm, not by fighting your nature, but by understanding and channeling it. Not through suppression, but through intelligent cooperation with your own magnificent biology. The most emotionally resilient people aren't those who feel less, they're those who've learned to navigate more. And that, more than any quick fix technique, is what creates lasting emotional freedom. What you've just discovered is more than a strategy, it's a revolution in how you relate to your own mind. You now hold the keys to decoding your brain's ancient survival wiring and transforming emotional reactions into intentional responses. Remember, your anxiety isn't weakness, it's your potential for hyper-awareness. Your anger isn't a flaw, it's untapped energy waiting for direction. That pause between trigger and action, that's your moment of power, where the best version of you gets to take the wheel. This isn't about achieving perfect calm, but about becoming the calm within any storm. Every breath you take with intention, every reaction you replace with response, every emotion you question rather than obey, you're not just managing stress, you're evolving your very biology. You're proving to your nervous system that you're safe, capable, and in control, no matter what chaos the world throws your way. As you step forward to put these insights into practice, know this: the fact that you've engaged with this material proves you're already changing. Luck favors the prepared mind, and yours is now armed with neuroscience-backed tools few ever master. Thank you for investing this time in yourself, because when you elevate your emotional mastery, you don't just transform your life. You raise the vibration of every conversation, relationship, and challenge you touch. Here's to your unshakable calm. May your pauses grow longer, your reactions wiser, and your life profoundly lighter because of it. The world needs more people who respond instead of react. Go show them how it's done. Thank you. Now go breathe deep and own your power.